Welcome to Two Luckies,
the podcast,
and our series Dyin,
Cryin,
and
Lyin.
This is a series of us talking about Little House on the Prairie and our take on it as adults.
It is very different as an adult.
Very different. And if you sum this all up, they can fall into one of three categories, either Dyin,
They're crying,
or they're
lying.
So sit back, relax, come take an adventure with us as we reminisce on Little House the Prairie, Dyin,
Cryin,
and
Lyin.
The 100-mile walk.
From Little House on the Prairie.
Let's
get to it, because boy, do they bring it. They hit all of our categories in this episode. We've been looking forward to this one.
All right, so let's open the scene. Scene opens with Chaz standing in the middle of a wheat field, and it's wheat as far as the eye can see, and he's rubbing this, and he's grabbing the grains off of it, and what's he saying?
He's saying, thank you, Lord, for this bountiful harvest. We also think he was like, money, but whatever. That's not part of the show, and he goes inside. What does he do?
Goes inside, and right away he starts with the kids. Hey, break out your pencils, and they start calculating how much wheat they have, how much it's going for, and they come up with a grand total of $26.65.
Or something like that. So they come up with this number. They're all excited about it, and they start making lists.
The lists. We're gonna first thing, new boots.
First nickel will be spent on new boots, curtains for the windows, new clothes for everyone, including those girls that have been wearing things that have been too short for too long.
And the list just goes on and on. And before all that's done, it's, hey, come on out to the barn. I got a surprise for you.
So, of course, Pop picks up Carrie out of her, that high chair that she's always in, poor thing. If you ever see her, she's always in somebody's hands or in that thing. And he puts that pipe right in her face and he walks outside.
They go outside. They go to the barn. He opens the gate. He goes in with Carrie and the dog, but leaves Ma, Mary, and Laura standing outside.
Outside the gate. So they're holding onto the gate. They're like leaning on it, standing on it. And he goes inside and
he comes out with two beautiful horses.
Yes, they're 8 years old, and he's been dreaming of a team. They're his dream team. He has been dreaming of this team forever, and now he's got them. How?
He's got them because he says he traded the oxen with Hanson for the horses, so he'll be able to pay the balance off when they make their harvest.
Which we say is a continual Lyin. Because cash on the barrelhead and credit are supposed to be two different things. Cash on the barrelhead means you paid for everything. When you get it, you paid it in full. And credit is when you still owe a balance after you've done something else. So he traded in these oxen for this horse, this team of horses.
The team of horses. So things are looking good for him. Now it's nightfall. Now it's raining outside, and Chaz is standing staring out the window with such intent.
He is so tense looking out this window. I mean, every hair is bristling with it.
And all of a sudden, Ma shows up and says, "What's the matter?"
What's the matter? And what does he say?
Nothing.
Lyin. Because you're standing there looking like you're about to poop yourself for what? Something's going on. You're saying nothing's wrong. Lyin.
Then he says he's going to get the coffee, and she says, "I'll get that. You sit down."
And now while he's doing that, he says, this rain is good for the wheat. He kept saying that. Well, we're calling that a continual lie because it wasn't that good for the wheat. You could see in his posture that he was feeling something totally different.
Absolutely.
Lyin.
And now we have the big clap of thunder, and the hail starts coming down. And right away we hear Carrie.
And she's crying. Poor thing. This poor thing's always crying, either going to the outhouse or sitting in that high chair. But here she is crying, doesn't know what's going on. It's loud.
So now Chaz races up from the table, screams something, and runs right out the door.
Holding his coat over his head.
Right. And all of a sudden, everybody's huddled around because it is a storm of the century, it sounds
Now,
like.
I'm still trying to figure out what he was going to do with that coat while he was out there. There was no earthly good that coat was going to do anybody. It wasn't keeping him dry, and it sure as heck wasn't protecting the wheat, because we find out.
When he comes back in and the storm's over and walks in and says, soaked right to the skin.
Soaked right to the skin, and she's staring a hole into him.
And said, oh, yeah.
He went and got that coffee. He went and got the coffee. He's looking out the window. He's doing everything he can to keep his eyes off this woman that is staring a hole at him like, just say it.
And finally, he turns around and just nonchalantly says, Wheat's gone.
So now, here's where I call this a Lyin, because he hugs her and he says, well, what's one harvest for a man's life?
Right. What's one harvest? So, I mean, we're right back where we started from. Heck, we can do this. And
now,
if we go back 2 episodes now, I believe that he was going to kill himself to complete this deal, to keep the oxen, because if he didn't have the oxen, he couldn't make a crop. And if he couldn't make a crop, he would lose everything.
Yes, because you need those oxen for farming, and he had also traded labor for a plow and the seed that grew the wheat that just fell down.
So now they show the next day at Hanson's, and we have 2 gentlemen over there that look like they are begging him for money because, as it turns out, this storm wiped out everybody's wheat crops within a 50-mile radius. So now everybody said, well, what are we going to do? I need to borrow money. And Hanson says, I'm sorry, I can't help you.
He didn't have any money to give. There was without anybody having money to pay him, he had no money to lend out. So we see Charles jingling in on that brand new team he just got yesterday.
Drops him off to Hanson and says, man can't keep what he can't pay for. That's the fastest deal he ever made.
Now, he said something about a reverse trade, but where the oxen were traded back to him, maybe they just forgot that was part of, like, if you were bringing the horses back, wouldn't you give the oxen back? But he just, like, he got to keep the horses and the oxen.
Right.
Like, it just didn't make any sense to me.
So now he's back home. Now he's packing up because he's got to take a trip.
Yes, and he is going to be going 100 miles, and he packs what?
He packs a leather satchel, which wasn't very big, and we're not really sure what was in it, but it couldn't have been much.
It was a little bit bigger than the size of his head, so I wouldn't say that it was that strenuous of a bag here. Like, I mean, really, like, this was... What could you have fit in this thing? Maybe a gallon of milk and like a shirt and a pants.
Right. So he's got the satchel, he's got a canteen of water, and he's got a little bedroll.
Yes, that's all rolled up with the strap that he could put over his shoulder.
Yep.
And this is all he is taking. And he had shown us that his shoes, when they were doing all that tabulating, we forgot something with their math lesson over there. When they were going over and figuring out how much this wheat was, he puts his shoe that's fallen apart, his boot, on the dining room table to show everybody that has eyes to see it that his toes are poking through the bottom of these shoes. So he gets these shoes, he gets himself, they go outside, and now they're all crying. Why are they crying? Because Pa says, I may have to go to Sleepy Eye, I may have to go to Mankato, probably about 100 miles. They don't know when they're going to see him, if they'll ever see him, and they're all crying. Except for him, really. All the women are crying. All the female family members are crying.
So off he goes up this big prairie hill instead of taking the road like everybody else does. Okay, there he goes. So now we see him, right?
Coming down a hill, and his boot, I got to stop calling it a shoe, is a flapping.
It's flapping.
I mean, it has given up the ghost. It doesn't know what it's going to do. It died about 20 miles back, and he is still just walking on the shoe. And then he leans up against a tree, and you see this house behind him, and he's pulling out these rocks. Now, I can understand having some kind of like gravel or little stuff in your shoe. He's throwing out stuff from his shoe that sounds like boulders. Like, I mean, This thing's like making sound as he's throwing it.
So now he stops and he's leaning up against this tree and he's shaking this stuff out of his shoe, and we see behind him what looked like it was a man, a woman, and a child.
No, you just see the house, and then he passes by, and then you see them all, here we go again, because they're saying goodbye, and they're Cryin.
Cryin.
So they gave us the pow pow. We went from Cryin. We had Lyin a whole bunch, and then they start pressing the button on Cryin because they're gonna give us Cryin.
So this guy who was quite a distance behind Chaz, all of a sudden you see now he's walking next to him.
Yeah, but he had said
Himself.
goodbye to his family with the Cryin. Now he somehow catches up with Charles, who we thought was going to be way further down the road, and he's just skipping up to him, trying to catch up, looking fresh as a daisy.
Introduces himself. He's Jack Peters. He's Charles Ingalls. Yep,
Yes,
and
they
they're
shake hands.
Both looking for work, and what's he want from him? With the rawhide.
Yes.
Let's get to the
So
rawhide.
this guy comes up, and in 2 seconds, he surmises that this guy's having a problem over here. What's happening to your shoe? He brought nothing for the shoe that they already knew before, when the wheat was standing, the wheat was laying down. This fucking shoe was going out. It was done. Okay. He knew it before he left home. Did they try to do something to it?
No.
Did they try to stitch it, clamp it, something? No. Did he even tie like a piece of spare fabric on it? Nope. Did he bring anything to repair it when he was leaving?
Nope.
Nope.
So Jack Peters pulls this piece of rawhide out of his pocket and says, "Here, try this." Well, I thank you. I can't pay you for it.
Here we go again, cash on the barrel head.
Cash on the barrel head, but yet he accepted it. And what did the
Because
guy say?
It was a trade for companionship.
Companionship.
So now we see Ma. What's she doing? She's looking out at all this wheat that's laying down over here. And I call this a Lyin because the wheat was still there. It's just laying down. It just means it's harder to pick it back up before it rains again and starts to get moldy. So I call that a Lyin.
That's a Lyin. And the thing was, not all of it was even laying down. Some of it was still standing up.
Well, the thing is, now we cut to Charles, and he's laying around a campfire, right? He's got that tobacco. He's got money for that, though, right? Not his boots. Got money for tobacco, and he's sharing a meal first.
Yes.
Sharing a meal.
Him and Jack Peters are having the meal. Next thing we see a third man come walking up out of the dark and asks if he can join them.
Right, and they offer him some food, and he says, "No, I'm good." And I say that's Lyin, because they can hear his stomach growling from 50 miles away. And he keeps looking around like hopefully they're gonna offer, because he's too whatever, I don't know what culture, maybe it's a cultural thing. He's not allowed to ask. So they offer him food, and they call him out on it. They're like, "Yeah, we won't even have to clean the plates because he was licking them. He was so hungry, this guy."
And we find out this guy's name's Jacob.
Yes, this guy's name is Jacob, and he makes boots, and guess what he brought with him?
He brought 2 pairs of boots with him. Picks up Chaz's old boots and just tosses them right behind his head, to which he says, "Hey, what are you doing?" He says, "Those aren't boots. They're not fit to be worn." "Well, that's all I've got." Then he pulls out this brand new pair, Itan hides.
Now, while he's changing because now he's taken off his old boots, the guy threw him behind his head, and now he lifts up his foot, and that is a very modern sock. This is the 1800s, okay? This is a modern, like this was some kind of, I bought this in a plastic bag, there was a 12 count of something or other situation kind of sock that he holds up to the camera, by the way, while he's putting on this new boot. We're in a time with no electricity. We're in a time where there's no internet, there's no buttons to push, there's no nothing. We want something, you got to make a fire to eat, you got to go get a bucket for water, but he's got this modern sock on his, on his foot over here.
If I remember this correctly, I believe he says, "These are a fine pair of boots."
But
puts them on and then says, "I can't pay you for
Here
them."
we go again. Cash on the barrel
Cash
head.
on the barrel
He
head.
accepted the rawhide, no money, just traded for companionship.
He says, "I can't pay for him," and the guy just looks at him and says, "Someday."
Someday. Okay, so he's going to pay him back
Then he looks
someday.
and says, "Yeah, someday."
Now, if that day has ever come to pass, we have no knowledge of it because it doesn't seem to. So now, the guy over there that he met when he was pulling, the one who gave him the rawhide, says to them, "Hey, we're looking to, I'm going to do this thing. I'm a powder monkey."
He says he's going to work in a quarry. "Would you guys want to work in a quarry? You'd be a double jack team." He says, "Have you ever heard of that?" "No."
What's that?
"What's that?" "Well, you swing your sledge and then you swing it and you hit a drill with it. It's hard work. It's long hours. Would you be up for it?" And they
Oh, but
say,
they
sure.
need people. That's the
Yes.
thing.
I
They
can get
need
you a
people.
job there.
Because the level of danger
Okay.
for this job is so excessive that most people decide, you know what? I'll grow it myself instead of doing this. So I have on my notes, need money, danger. Here he
Oh,
goes.
absolutely.
He is ready to make sure that he's going to do the most dangerous thing that he possibly can. So here we go to another lion because they get up there. Peters tells them about, hey, I got this new double jack team for you. Presents them as an already I've done this stuff before kind of group of people here.
Here's a double jack team. Here, you're going to have to show your skills. Now, this is where it gets funny. Yeah, we're an experienced double jack team. They stand up, and I think it was Chaz that was swinging the sledge first. And
because Jacob told him.
You could tell, obviously, that he's never done this before. So
he held
swings,
this like he had never seen this thing in this apparatus ever.
On his second swing, he glanced off of it. Now,
his fourth swing, too.
This is important because this drill is really just a piece of iron with a head that's...
The head is not
very big.
It's like 1/16 wider than the width of the pole in the middle of it.
Not a very big head. So if you're not accurate in swinging that sledgehammer, which looked like it was about a 10-pound sledge on top... If you miss and hit somebody's hand, it's broken. You just snap it right off.
I mean, and this is a time period where fixing that was impossible.
So it's obvious.
That level of surgery didn't exist.
He can't do this, so the guy asked him to switch, and then they switch positions, and then Jacob gets up, and he's even worse at it than Chaz was. And after a few slow swings, this guy says, "Hey, pick up the pace."
Yeah, but you're missing the lie here. He asked them, "You're a double jack team?" And to which Charles says, yup, Lyin. And then they had to demonstrate their lack of skill. And then we get, because now this guy wanted them to keep switching back and forth forever and just give him a free, demonstration.
Pick up the pace.
So they say,
all of a sudden he stops and says, "Look, my partner and I work a lot harder when we're getting paid."
Now, the thing is, I call this Lyin because there's no way on earth these people are going faster with pay or without. They don't have the skill to go faster yet. So now we come up and we got Ma. She's back at the farm and she's got every woman with a bonnet in Hero Township outside of her house. She comes out and she does that funny little tie she does on the side of her bonnet because she never really figured out how to tie it on right. And she comes out and she's having a meeting.
She's having a meeting and she's talking to the women of Walnut Grove and says, "Look, we're all in the same situation. I think if we work all together and we're going to have to go out and do this by hand, that we can still harvest this wheat and make flour that we're going to need for the winter." And what do they get?
Well, they get one younger woman who's dissenting, and she says, "I don't think it's possible. There's no way we can do this. How can we do this without machinery?" And Ma says,
the way somebody did in the Bible.
The way Ruth did it in the Bible, that they're going to gather it all up and they're going to put it into sheaves and they're going to beat the heck out of it, and then they're going to take all of that and they're going to blow off the chaff or something like that, and they are going to get biblical on it, and that's how they're going to do it, and it's going to be a lot of work, and it's possible. And then they do a show of hands and peer pressure this other girl who says that it wasn't possible, and she has to agree, and then while they're out there in the fields, and this girl who didn't want to do this in the first place is standing there sweating, doing nothing, and telling somebody else, "Oh, well, what are you doing?" This girl was making like these tiny little bundles.
Making
everybody
cheese
else
that was like the size of maybe a small bat.
No, I mean there was maybe like 15 pieces of wheat, and everybody else was doing like 150 per bundle, right? So this girl's sweating there doing nothing. She didn't want to do this to begin with, and she's complaining about the work of others. To which Ma says to her, "Try harder. If everybody worked the way you do, of course it would never get done." And this is on the Ingalls farm, and this is their field, and you never see them working on anyone else's field, just this field, okay? Yeah. Now we get to the dynamite lesson.
Yes. So now we flash back, and they're picking up their tools to start this double jacking, and that's when you find out that Jack Peters is a powder monkey. And they say, "What's powder monkey?"
Like, what is this? He said, this is dynamite. He shows them a stick. And he says, you can beat it, you can step on it, you can throw it around, and it'll never blow up until you do these specific things.
Yes, you have to take this cap and you have to crimp it around this fuse, and he crimps it with his teeth and not the tool like he's supposed
And
to
he
use.
gets made fun of for not using the newfangled tool, but he's always got his teeth, he thinks.
Yep, but then you have to stick this thing in, and then you light it, and then it would go boom.
Well, you stick that cap that's on the outside of the wire into the stick of dynamite, and then that's the only way it can go boom. And that's kind of, it becomes part of the discussion later on. But
so okay, come on, guys, you're not getting to work here standing around chewing the fat. Pick up your tools and get to work.
so now you see Charles, and he holds up his hands, and they are just red and raw and bloody looking. They look very painful.
Yeah, I'm going to call something out. All right, this guy's a farmer, right? This guy has been farming and he's been living in the wilderness, okay? You swung a sledgehammer for a few hours on your first day and you tore all the skin off your hands.
No,
like,
right. We kind
really?
of think he would have. I mean, this is a hands-on life they got here. There's really no time to be having soft hands in the middle of the 1800s when you're splitting your own wood and you're holding onto rough ropes. They didn't have these smooth ropes back then. You're holding onto rough ropes and leather reins and all kinds of stuff behind animals. You're lifting, you're pulling, you're doing all this stuff, and now he's got bandages on his hands later on. And then we see him lounging with his pipe with no bandages. So now, did that tell us that time went on? Or is this like,
Maybe
like his hands got used to it? Maybe that was their way of letting us know.
Maybe that was what they were doing.
But then they start talking, reminiscing about home life. The three of them that were around the fire, they're reminiscing about their home life and talking about their favorite things, which to me was for Charles when Ma's chores were all done.
Yes. His favorite things, he's listing everything that she's doing.
When
Cooking,
dinner's done,
cleaning.
the cooking's cleaned up, the dishes are put up. That's all the stuff that his wife does, not one thing that he does. And then we find out that Jacobs, who's the other part of his team here swinging this sledgehammer, left his pregnant wife.
Yes, and he doesn't know if she had the baby, when she's going to have the baby, whether it's a boy or a girl. He just doesn't know that.
I mean, they had no way of telling back then. The way you found out was you saw the kid and you said, oh, there it is.
Right. So now they get into town.
They're in town, and all the women are in town waiting with their children online at the post office.
Yep, so they're waiting to get a mail, and there's a letter from Chaz.
From Chaz.
So they sit down, open this letter. It's got a bunch of cash in it. We see Ma pocket, and she reads the letter. I'm fine. Everything's good. Hope all is well. Can't wait to be with you again. I love you.
And she hands this letter off to Laura, who takes it with her. And then they show the powder monkey's wife, which I don't know if I ever caught her name, and she says, oh, I think I do know, maybe I don't know it off the top of my head.
Peggy.
Okay, but he spelled her name wrong in the letter. He spelled something else wrong, and he spelled her name wrong.
Deer, D-E-R-E.
Okay, he spelled it D-E-R-E, and he spelled her name wrong, and it kind of comes in there. But I have the men are over there now in the next scene, and they're roughhousing. It's 8 o'clock on a Monday morning, and they are just ready and raring to go for this dangerous job that they're doing.
Powder monkey's revving everybody up, walks by an outhouse with a piece of dynamite and the fuse burning, and just tosses it in and says, it's a dummy. Come on, get to work.
Yeah, and this guy comes running out there. He's trying to fasten his pants and run out of there as fast as he can manage the two of those things together. And we see a lot of the men struggling, and then they cut back to the women with the wheat, and they back and forth with the men, and the women are all struggling here.
And then they pan back to town. They show all the women in the field, and now they're dragging down the sheaves, and they're in front of the house, and they're beating it with brooms and whatever else they had, and they're actually getting the grain out. They're doing it.
Yes, and then they show them down at the mill at Hanson's Mill, and they are all passing bags of now ground flour, because they ground them at the mill, and they're filling up an entire wagon load, it looks like, worth of grain that was gone from our earlier line of the wheat's gone. Well, guess what, Charles? They just had it ground up, and they're putting sacks and sacks and sacks of it into this wagon.
So the only thing I'm trying to figure out is, was that all her grain, all of her wheat that they had in the wagon, or did they actually get to everybody else's farm?
Right, because when they show these close-ups of them thrashing and doing all this work and all the children are involved, we're still unsure of whether they went around to every farm, but it took them a considerable amount of effort and work to do this thing, but they got an entire wagon load's worth of flour out of this when if they listened to their husbands they would have had nothing. So now we got the contest.
We're back at the quarry. Back at the quarry, and we got the drilling contest. It's a drill off. Everybody's drill had a white line taped to it, and it's very simple. First one to get their drill down in the rock to that white line wins. And what's the first thing we notice? Who's the youngest guy out of that whole crew?
Okay, they're panning around to all these groups of people, and I'm telling you, some of these guys look like they were 102 if they were a day, and Charles was literally like the youngest guy in the whole quarry. Why is that? Did these older guys just feel like, I got nothing to lose, might as well risk it?
Right.
I mean, like, I was wondering at that. But we start off with Charles hitting the drill, and then they switch to Jacob, and then what happens?
Well, here's where it gets funny. All right, he starts hitting the drill. I counted. Maybe he got about 10 swings in.
If we're lucky.
Then yells out, switch. Okay,
Yep.
He didn't even get the drill moved maybe a quarter of an inch. So they switch. And here's now Jacob's on the hammer, and he's hammering away at this thing.
He's doing a good job.
Yeah, he is. And there's Charles. Go, go,
Go,
go,
go, go. You know why? Because
and you
he's
watched
not
him
switching.
yelling. They never switch back.
They never switch back. The other teams were doing like 10...
switching back and forth. They didn't switch.
No,
just
and they
kept
showed
swinging
the
and
other
swinging and
teams
swinging.
switching in the background.
I'm going to say, yep, they won.
Yes.
And so now they get a payout, right?
No, before they get the payout, Jacob throws his hat like he's never... he didn't even look for it. He tosses his hat like he's never going to need a hat again.
But there was a prize
and he
for
just
this.
leaves.
There was a prize for this. Okay, the winning team got $50,
Now,
so it's
we were
$25 apiece.
Well, we were unsure at the beginning what the distribution was. We found it out later, but we're giving it to you early because we find out later on that it was $25 each. So they turn around, yay, we won. We look up at this hill, and there's the powder monkey. He's up on these rocks.
Standing on a bunch of rocks and telling them, I told you could do it. We're going to make things happen. And next thing, what happens?
Dyin!
Dyin.
Because he turns around and somehow there's this massive explosion between us, him, and there's this big explosion. There's an echo. There's oh my gosh, look at Charles's face while he's staring up at this big cloud
And he's going,
that
Jack!
goes up in the sky, and he's yelling his name. And then while he's still looking up, all of a sudden somebody's in his right ear saying, it's time for your pay, here's your pay, or something like that.
Yep, so we just watched the powder monkey go poof.
And go right into getting money. So, I mean, we know there's some time we missed here. And then they both decide that, he also gets the powder monkey's pay to give to his wife and his belongings.
So he gets his regular pay.
Yes.
He gets the $25 he won in the drill off.
And he gets his much larger sack back. Charles.
And then he gets the powder monkeys, and please give her my regards.
Yes, and I'm
was
sorry I'm laughing, but this guy was better prepared.
So hold on. So what does he do? He walks over to Jacob. He takes the prize money that he won and stuffs it in the pouch that's Jack Peters.
Yes, Charles takes his $25 and he puts it into the little really nice leather pouch actually.
Yes, for
that
Jack
he got
Peters.
with his bonus money pay. He takes Jack Peters' stuff and he puts it in with his bonus money. And then Jacob, who just had the baby, or maybe not had the baby, and has no idea whether his wife lived through the process, because back then that was not a guarantee.
Right.
And has no idea whether he got a boy or a girl, gives his $25 also. They put it in the big bag, that much larger bag that Jack had prepared for himself. And then Jacob puts it on his shoulder, and we see Ingalls carrying only his own little package of stuff that he had when he left from home.
And Jacob's carrying everything else.
Yes, but the other thing we noticed was Ingalls was walking still with his unpaid boots on his feet, because not one penny did we see pass between Charles to Jacob for those boots, those brand new boots that he's got on his feet. So he had a friend, he lost him. He made out he's got a new pair of boots from a guy he may never see again. And they're walking down, and the guy's carrying all the other guy's stuff and his own stuff, while Charles is only carrying his own.
Yeah, so that someday, I'm going to call that Lyin. Never paid for
No, when did he pay for them? Like, if we paid for them, let us know, because we watched him get paid. We watched him take money. We watched him get paid.
Right.
We watched him take money, put it into a pouch that he put into somebody else's bag, and not one penny did we see go to this guy who bought him these boots. Now, they walk all the way. We find out that the kid was actually born while the guy's dawdling over here. Like, wouldn't you?
Yes.
The dog comes running down to go get him.
They're walking home, and they get first to Jacob's house.
Then he
"This
passes
is where
off
I
all the
turn off."
stuff.
Yep.
But that's when the handoff happens.
Yep.
Here, you carry the stuff now, because you got to go past their house, and I'm already home.
Okay, so he walks up the hill. We see the wife greet him, and she's holding a baby. Now he's holding the baby, and he yells down the chives, "It's a boy!"
It's a boy!
And
yay!
they're crying.
And they're crying.
More crying.
So now he goes down. He's got to trudge by himself. Now he's got an extra burden because he's got other people's stuff he's got to carry.
Now he's
because
gotta
the other guy
stop.
can't carry it.
Now he's got to stop at Jack Peters.
So he stops at Jack Peters' house, and he gives all of his belongings to the wife. He looks at the kid. The kid goes running, and what do we have? Crying. Because his father just died, and honestly, he's got a reason.
Yes.
But
Yes.
now we get to some Lyin, because we know these are just social niceties. He says, we live close by. We're only about a 10-mile walk. Like, we're only 10 miles away. We're neighbors. We're just like 10 miles away.
I'll stop by and see you
Yes, and we'll
sometime.
bring the kids over, and maybe we'll go fishing or something like that. We'll see you again. I'm calling that double Lyin, because
He never went there
never
again.
once in 9 years did we see this guy come back over here. Lyin. Then we get the poor kid over here, just lost his dad. He had to say goodbye to him. Now the dad's never coming back home. And who's crying? Because we got a crying.
Oh.
We pan up because
Chaz.
the kid decides, he's like, you know what? That's enough of my crying. Chin up, I got a lot of work to do. And he gets the harness for the horse, and he's getting ready to plow that field all by himself. And now we get a close-up of Charles, chin quivering, and he's blinking, and he is crying. So, what happens? He comes home a-jingling.
Oh, he's jingling. And now...
How does he come home jingling? What was he jingling?
Follow us here. He comes home, he's riding the one horse and toting right behind him the other horse that he had earlier dropped off to Hanson's. Okay, he shows up with these horses. The kids run outside. Pa's home.
Pa's home. Now, I want to stop you here. How did he get the horses there in the first place without anyone knowing what he was like? He was easily 200 yards off. And they were like, Pa's home.
This was my point, though. Hanson and town was 3.5 miles outside of his house in the other direction.
Yes.
So how did he go by the farm, went there first before he came home? Wouldn't
that
you come
is a
home
good
first,
point,
say
right.
hi to the family, the wife and kids, and maybe, hey, I got a surprise, we can go get our horses back.
Right, he didn't make it a team effort. He had to come in like the guy in shining armor over here riding his 2 workhorse team, and he came home jingling. He came home the hero, and now the camera pulls back, and as we get the long wide shot, we got people, every cast member one at a time, adding themselves to the pile of crying, because now they're happy crying because we got to the end and everyone came back together except for poor Jack Peters, who knows he'll always be apart. And now we have the music, the swelling, the fading, and we got a whole bunch of dying, crying, and lying in this episode.
And that concludes this episode of Two Luckies.
Two Luckies, the podcast.
And our series, Dyin,
Cryin,
and Lyin.
We release these in threes, so if you enjoyed it, there's more. Go check it out.
Go check them out. We'll see you next time.
We're out.
See ya.
Two Luckies, the podcast.
Two Luckies podcast.
Two Luckies, the podcast.